Let me tell you something that nobody in the financial industry wants to say out loud. We have spent decades building an entire machinery designed to get you to retirement. The savings plans, the 401k contribution calculators, the Monte Carlo simulations, the drawdown strategies, the asset allocation models. The entire weight of the financial services industry has been pointed like a laser at one singular moment, the day you stop working. And then you get there, and nobody, not your financial advisor, not your HR department, not the glossy retirement brochure with the silver-haired couple walking on the beach, nobody prepared you for what comes after that moment. That's what we're going to talk about today. Not the math, not the portfolio, not the withdrawal rate. We're going to talk about the human experience of that first year. Because here's what I've learned after spending my entire career in and around money. The numbers are often the easy part. It's the life part that catches people completely off guard. I want to walk you through 5 things you should genuinely expect and prepare for during your first year of retirement. Not to scare you, but because I believe with everything I have that the most powerful thing any of us can do with our financial lives is walk into them eyes open. So let's go. 1, retirement is not going to feel like a vacation, and that's going to unsettle you more than you think. I want you to picture the version of retirement you have in your head right now. Go ahead, close your eyes for a second if you need to. There's probably some version of leisure in there. Maybe travel, maybe sleeping in, maybe a morning that doesn't begin with an alarm clock and a Teams meeting. Maybe it's a garden or a golf course or a grandchild on your lap. Whatever it looks like, hold on to that image because it is real and it is valid, and you have earned it. But here is what I need you to understand. That image is a vacation, and retirement is not a vacation. Retirement is a life. The distinction sounds simple, but the emotional weight of it is enormous. When you go on vacation, you know it's temporary. There is a return date on your ticket. You enjoy the beach precisely because you know that Monday is coming. There is pleasure in the contrast. The rest feels earned against the backdrop of the work. But when you retire, when every day is Saturday, something unexpected happens. The contrast disappears. And what was supposed to feel like infinite freedom can start to feel, within weeks, like something closer to drift. I have sat with women, brilliant, accomplished, hardworking women who spent 30 years building careers and families and communities, who told me, quietly and with some shame, that they felt bored within a month of retiring. Not just bored, anxious, like they were waiting for something to start, like they had missed a meeting somewhere. That shame is completely unnecessary, and I want to say that clearly. What you are feeling in those moments is not ingratitude, it is not weakness, it is biology, it is psychology. It is the very human response to having your entire daily structure, your sense of purpose, your rhythm, your reason to get up and put real clothes on, suddenly and completely removed. The retirement commercials lied to you. Not out of malice, but because the fantasy sells better than the truth. The truth is that you will still have to buy the groceries. You will still have to take out the trash. You will still run the dishwasher and call the plumber and deal with the insurance claim that's been sitting on your desk for 3 weeks. And at some point, probably around week 4 or 5, you will find yourself standing in the kitchen at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday morning, coffee in hand, wondering how on earth you ever had time to work a full-time job and handle all of this. And then you will need something to do with yourself. And if you haven't thought about that in advance, it will catch you completely flat-footed. So here is my ask. While you are still planning your retirement, while you are still in the spreadsheet phase, the projection phase, the how much do I need phase, spend equal time planning what your days will actually look like. Not just financially, structurally, emotionally, purposefully. What gets you out of bed in the morning when there is no meeting pulling you there? What problem do you want to solve? Who do you want to serve? What have you been meaning to learn for the last 20 years but never had the bandwidth for? Answer those questions before you hand in your badge. Because the people who thrive in retirement, and I mean genuinely, deeply, beautifully thrive, are the ones who walk into it with a vision for their life, not just a plan for their money. 2, it is going to put pressure on your most important relationship, more than you're ready for. Here is a sentence I have heard in some variation more times than I can count. We've been married for 35 years. We love each other. We're going to be fine. And I believe you. I genuinely do. But I also need you to hear this. Suddenly spending every single waking hour together after decades of a relationship that was structured, at least in part, around both of you having separate professional lives is a significant adjustment for both of you. It doesn't matter how much you love each other. Love is not the variable in question here. The variable is structure and space and the unspoken negotiations that every couple makes about how their shared life is organized. Let me give you an example that I think about often. I once heard about a high-level executive, the kind of person who spent his career managing hundreds of people, running complex operations, making decisions that affected thousands of lives. He was brilliant at it. He was built for it. He retired and, within weeks, unconsciously did what he had always done. He managed. He managed the household. He optimized the grocery runs. He created systems for the laundry. He offered feedback on how the kitchen was organized. He meant well, genuinely, completely, utterly meant well. His wife, who had run their home with grace and efficiency for decades, looked at him and said 4 words that I think every retiring spouse needs to hear before they retire. I am the CEO. She was right. And to his enormous credit, he eventually understood that. They got help, they talked to someone, they renegotiated their dynamic, and what started as a real crisis ultimately deepened their relationship in ways they hadn't anticipated. But it was hard, and it was painful, and it did not have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way for you either. If you are still in the planning phase, I want to give you a homework assignment. Sit down with your partner, not to talk about the money, you've probably done plenty of that, but to talk about the life. What does each of you imagine your days will look like? What do you each need in terms of space, independence, routine? Who handles what? What are your individual passions and pursuits, and how do they fit alongside your shared ones? Have that conversation now, not after the retirement party when everything feels celebratory and theoretical. Now, while you can still make deliberate choices together. And if your relationship survived the pandemic, if you made it through 2020 with your love and your sanity and your sense of humor intact, take some comfort in that. You already know you can do this. You already proved it. The first year of retirement will be its own thing, but you have more resilience in that relationship than you might be giving yourselves credit for. Communication is not just a relationship skill. In retirement, it becomes a survival skill. Use it. 3, you are going to have a genuine identity crisis, and it is going to be okay. I want to talk about something that the financial industry almost never acknowledges because it doesn't fit neatly into a pie chart or a projection model. I want to talk about who you are when you are not working. For most of us, and I include myself in this, our professional identity is deeply, sometimes uncomfortably, woven into our sense of self. Think about what happens when you meet someone new. Within the first 5 minutes, almost without exception, someone asks, "What do you do?" Not "Who are you?" Not "What lights you up?" Not "What do you love?" But "What do you do?" As if the answer to that one question tells the whole story. And for a lot of us, for a long time, it kind of does. We are our titles. We are our industries. We are the meeting we're running, the deal we're closing, the team we're leading. Our calendars are our identities. Our business cards are our shorthand selves. And then retirement comes, and the calendar empties, and the business cards go in a box. And someone at a cocktail party asks, "What do you do?" And for the first time in 30 years, you don't have a clean answer. That moment is disorienting in a way that is genuinely hard to describe until you've lived it. Beyond the identity question, there's the social reality. The professional networks you spent years building don't dissolve immediately, but they do quietly fade. The emails slow down, the invitations change. The industry you gave so much of yourself to continues without you, moves fast, evolves, and the world doesn't pause to acknowledge your absence. That can sting, even when you expected it, even when you chose it. And if you were part of a team, if your work life involved collaboration and shared purpose and the particular kind of camaraderie that comes from building something together, you may find that the absence of that is one of the most surprising losses of early retirement. It's not the work you miss exactly, it's the we. I want to say something important here, and I want to say it gently but directly. This is not a sign that retiring was the wrong decision. It is a sign that you were fully human in your career. It means you showed up. It means you connected. It means you built something real. Of course, you're going to feel the absence of that. But here's what I know. Identity is not fixed. It is not a destination you arrive at in your 20s and carry unchanged for the rest of your life. Identity is something you build continuously out of the choices you make and the contributions you offer and the communities you choose to be part of. Retirement is not the end of your identity. It is an invitation to author it more deliberately than you ever have before. My strong advice, and I say this with real conviction, is to begin exploring that new identity before you retire. Start the passion project, join the board, take the class, volunteer in a way that uses your skills and stretches your mind. Begin building the social fabric of your next chapter while you still have the scaffolding of your current one to lean on. Don't wait until the silence sets in to figure out who you are without the job. Start answering that question now, while you have the luxury of doing it without urgency. 4, the loneliness is real, and nobody talks about it enough. I have to be honest with you about something. When we talk about retirement in public, in articles, in videos, and financial planning meetings, we tend to talk about it in terms of abundance. The freedom you'll have, the travel you'll do, the grandchildren you'll spoil, the books you'll finally read. And all of that is true. All of that is real and wonderful and worth every year of saving and planning. But here is something else that is true. A significant number of people experience profound loneliness in their first year of retirement. And it is one of the most underreported, under-acknowledged challenges of this entire life transition. Think about what work actually gives you beyond the paycheck. Think about the texture of a working day. There are people, colleagues, clients, mentors, mentees who are genuinely glad to see you. There are conversations, debates, collaborations, even the casual exchanges that don't seem significant in the moment, but quietly constitute the connective tissue of a social life. There are shared goals and shared pressures, and the particular intimacy that comes from navigating hard things alongside other people. Most of us don't fully appreciate how much of our social world is built around work until work is no longer there. And when it goes, it leaves a gap, a real one, an achingly quiet one. I have spoken with people, smart, social, engaged people, who found themselves eating lunch alone in a way they hadn't since childhood, who realized that most of their meaningful friendships were really professional friendships, which are not designed to survive the removal of the professional context, who moved to a new city for their retirement, the warmer climate, the lower cost of living, the dream location, and found themselves starting over socially at 65 in a way that felt genuinely daunting. Making new friends as an adult is hard. It is one of the great unspoken challenges of midlife and beyond. There is no syllabus for it. There is no clear path. The structures that made friendship easy when we were younger, school, neighborhood, shared parenting schedules, don't exist in the same way. You have to build community deliberately, intentionally, sometimes uncomfortably. And I think it's worth saying, this is especially true for women. Women are often the connective tissue in their families and social networks. We coordinate, we check in, we maintain. But many of our friendships are, by necessity, woven around shared logistics: children, school, work. When the logistics change, the friendships sometimes don't survive. And if you've spent decades putting everyone else's social and emotional needs first, retirement can be the moment you realize you haven't invested enough in friendships that are purely yours. So here is what I want you to take from this. Don't wait until retirement to start building the social life you want in retirement. Begin now. Invest in friendships that exist outside of work. Explore communities, a faith community, a running group, a book club, a volunteer organization, where the basis of connection is shared values or shared interests rather than shared employment. Because here's what the research is increasingly and powerfully clear about. Loneliness is not just an emotional problem. It is a health problem. Chronic loneliness has measurable effects on physical health, cognitive function, and longevity. Your social life is not a luxury. It is, in the most literal sense, part of your retirement plan. Treat it that way. 5. The financial planning doesn't end. It actually gets more complicated. Okay, now I want to talk money, because that's also real, and I wouldn't be doing my job if I let you walk away without saying it plainly. Here is something that surprises a lot of people about retirement. The financial complexity doesn't simplify when you stop working. In many ways, it intensifies. During your accumulation years, the basic structure is relatively straightforward. You earn money. You save a portion of it. You invest it. You let compound interest do its extraordinary, patient, reliable work. You make adjustments. You stay the course. Hard in practice, but simple in concept. Retirement is different. Retirement requires you to reverse the engine. Instead of putting money in, you are taking money out. And the questions that come with that, how much, from where, in what order, with what tax implications, in what market conditions, are genuinely complex. They require real thought, real strategy, and in most cases, real expertise. How much can you withdraw each month without running the risk of outliving your money? That answer depends on your asset allocation, your expected returns, your time horizon, your other income sources, your spending patterns, and yes, on market conditions that nobody can fully predict. There is no universal number. There is no formula that works for everyone. There is your situation and the plan that is built around it. And then there are the one-time expenses, because life, as it turns out, does not become less expensive in retirement just because you stopped working. The roof needs replacing. The car finally gives up. Your child needs help with a down payment on a house. You decide, because you've waited 40 years for it, and you are going to take that trip to New Zealand. All of these are wonderful things. All of these are real things. And all of them require capital that has to come from somewhere at a moment when you are no longer adding to the pile. Planning for those expenses is not pessimism. It is love. Love for your future self. Love for the life you want to keep living. Love for the freedom that real financial preparation makes possible. And then there is healthcare. The number that makes everyone uncomfortable because it is large and uncertain and deeply personal. The statistics on what a retired couple can expect to spend on healthcare over the course of their retirement are genuinely sobering. This is not the place to pretend otherwise. Long-term care, in particular, is a conversation that too many people defer until it becomes a crisis. For them, for their families, for the people who love them most. I want to tell you something I believe with real conviction, something that I have built my career around. Women, in particular, must engage with these questions, not delegate them, not defer them, not assume that someone else, a spouse, an advisor, a family member, is handling it. Because the data is unambiguous. Women live longer than men, on average. We spend more years in retirement. We face higher healthcare costs. We are more likely to spend our final years alone, making financial decisions without a partner. And historically, we have been less likely to be deeply involved in the investment and financial planning decisions that will determine the quality of those years. That has to change. It is changing. And you are part of that change. The first year of retirement is the moment to get deeply engaged with your financial picture. Not to hand it off and hope for the best, to understand it, to ask the questions, to know where the money is, what it's doing, and what the plan is if things don't go as expected. Because the plan that got you to retirement is not the same plan that will carry you through retirement. You need an advisor who understands the difference, who plans for longevity, not just for the first decade, who thinks about tax efficiency and healthcare costs and legacy and all the moving pieces of a financial life that is, God willing, going to span another 30 years. You deserve that level of planning. Don't settle for less. The invitation. Here is what I want you to walk away with today. Retirement is not the end of the story. It is not the finish line. It is the beginning of what could be if you approach it with intention and honesty, and the same energy you brought to building your career, the most meaningful chapter of your life. But it requires the same thing that every important thing in life requires: preparation. Not just financial preparation, though that matters enormously. Life preparation, emotional preparation, relational preparation, social preparation. The 5 things I've walked you through today: the loss of structure, the pressure on your relationship, the identity shift, the loneliness, the ongoing financial complexity. None of them are reasons to dread retirement. They are reasons to plan for it, to walk into it with your eyes open and your intentions clear and your support system already in place. The retirement I want for you, the one I want for every woman I have ever worked with, ever spoken to, ever sat across a table from, is one built on real freedom. Not the freedom of not working, the deeper freedom of knowing exactly who you are, what you value, and what your money is doing in service of the life you actually want. That kind of freedom doesn't happen by accident. It is built deliberately, one honest conversation and one courageous decision at a time. You have worked too hard and too long to leave the best chapter to chance. Let's plan it right.